Hi, folks. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'll allow some folks to join the meeting and then we'll get started. I'll estimate a 1:02. Give folks 2 to 5 minutes to sign on here. Thanks for joining. Dr. Curran, nice to see you. Hi, folks, again. Thank you for joining on time. We'll give others just a couple minutes to sign on before we get started. Maybe someone out there can give me a thumbs up that you actually can hear what I'm saying. Thank you, Robert. All right, I'll pause just one more minute. Today I get to be speaker and moderator and waiting room moderator. So I'll try to push all the buttons appropriately. And we'll get started in just a minute. All right, everybody, we're going to get started. I've now successfully found all the windows that I need to run this meeting. I'll be managing the wait room and the chat and trying to host a bit of discussion today. To say thank you for joining. This meeting is being recorded so that others might be able to benefit from the information as well. We'll be doing a bit of work this off season in order to get these meetings transcribed appropriately and into some educational documents as well. Okay, so we're going to have a fair bit of discussion with folks that are interested and available to do so. So just to note, as a point of order, just like to keep these meetings informational and respectful, and carry on with a productive discussion. So I've left ample time at the end for show and tell. If you didn't plan on a show and tell, but you'd like a moment to run and grab something interesting to show, a hemp product to show, then we'll get there in the next 20 or 30 minutes or so. In the meantime, I'm going to get my presentation window a little bit more visibly appealing. Okay, so just to get some of the juices flowing, I'd like to give folks a chance to introduce themselves in the chat. As difficult as it is to make a virtual experience, one that's interactive and open to all, I do open the chat to discussion along with the meeting. So here is kind of the prompts for how to introduce yourself. If you're interested, your name and your business. Though I'd also have these two questions. I'll count to 25 to give you a chance to answer. How long is a long hemp fiber from the foundational sense? And your best hemp product. Curious what folks are thinking about in terms of the discussion we're hoping to have today. Okay, I'll count to 10. All right, anybody who wants to drop an answer into the chat can do so. Pretty sure it works. Have at least a couple listings there. Okay, looks like we have a quiet group today. Maybe I'll do most of the talking. We'll get back to some of these questions. Okay, thank you, Jen, for jumping in there. Robert from FDAX is answering the question about fibers, and Jen from the best hemp product. Thanks, folks. All right. Also, in the interest of giving folks a chance to identify you on the call, looks like Marcos already had a chance to do that. He's put his company there. If you would like to be identified by something other than your name, I can show you that it's exceedingly easy. I can do it while I'm running a meeting. You go over to your name, hit more and rename, and then I can do UF Hemp. So there you go. My name is now includes my affiliation. Okay, moving on to the interesting stuff. So I just wanted to stop for a moment and give folks a chance to get familiar with the post-harvest materials that we're talking about. This has been the topic of discussion for a number of different meetings that we've had through the year. And it's an important place to start here as we get talking about hemp products, the topic of our discussion for today. Okay, so just to kind of go back on this idea that I share, there are a number of crop types associated with hemp farming, hemp production, and those tend to break down based on the production goal. And so the horticultural type, high value, high input, is going to produce here for flower, the picture on the left-hand side of the screen. So that flower is unpollinated, and maturity is defined by the legal compliance threshold for 0.3% THC. So your flower grows as long as it may. You need to have a THC test that is less than 0.3% THC, no more than 30 days prior to harvest. Those flowers are then harvested for both fresh market and processing. The one in the middle, those are meant to represent a fiber crop. These are plants that remain in vegetative stage or very, very early flowering, flowering at male. Primarily, some folks will wait till the female flowering, which occurs somewhere between a week or two later. Those fibers then are broken out of the plant stem. The seeds, those require pollination from the male flowers to the female flowers, and development of seed, which is then harvested for hold seeds. So kind of the seed that's minimally processed, just to put into cereal. And then there's a whole number of other processing channels that can press oil or extract protein from the seeds and various different byproducts. So just to go through this in a little bit more detail, the crop types and production quality. So this flower is primarily that THC threshold, 0.3% delta 9 THC, and somewhere between 8 and 20% CBD is what we see to come out of these flowers. There's other cannabinoids of emphasis. The cannabigerol, the CBG is one of note, but primarily going for either a CBD isolate or more of a broad spectrum kind of whole extract. And so there are many other cannabinoids, over 100 that have been identified, the terpenes and flavonoids. That's what helps with the smell and the flavor. Moving into the fiber, there tends to be two that I think of. The bast is the outer fiber, those long fibers. Cutting to the chase here of the quiz question, most folks think of fiber bundles. And those fiber bundles could go as long as a meter or so if you're able to keep them intact. However, the kind of cellular level of fiber, as is important to the textile industry, thinks of quote unquote long fibers as 2 to 25 millimeters. Hemp is an exceedingly long fiber in that it can get to 55 millimeters, I've seen. This is a high cellulose fiber, 70 to 75% of the cellulose. The lignin is primarily in the inner fibers, that herd, that inner core. It's a short fiber and lignin rich. Moving over to the seeds are high in oil, 30% oil, 90% of that is unsaturated. If you extract protein from the seed, you can get as much as 25% of the weight in protein. I should also mention that the oil has a beneficial or kind of a desirable omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid ratio, that 3 to 1. And there's a whole bunch of other things in the seeds as well, fiber, vitamins, minerals. So this is some interesting information that I pulled out of the USDA from a couple weeks ago, a September report, weekly hemp report on imports. These are year-to-date values for this year. So where is this material coming from? If it's coming from exports, by and large, it is. So flour, I assume flour, this was just the hemp designation that didn't include a fiber or a seed. So this could be several other products as well, but my guess was flour. So a bit over $500,000 import of flour or non-specified hemp material from the Netherlands, Nepal, France, and Canada. So there's also fiber imports of note. The second highest that I saw in terms of the imports. So defining hemp fiber as a twine gets 2 million, primarily from the Philippines. Yarn, just short of 1 million from Romania and China. Also, you might kind of squinty eye and notice that a couple of the countries are a little bit smaller text here. And so I wanted to put them on the list, but I also wanted to make sure that you could see that they're not nearly as high. So Italy and Mexico is also exporting yarn to the United States, hemp yarn, but at a secondary level. What they define as fabric is 600,000 from China, India, and Belgium. So seeds are interesting. They share seeds for sowing, specifically at 3 million, primarily from the Netherlands. I found that very interesting. Maybe the seeds from the Netherlands are particularly high price. Maybe those seeds are primarily going to the hemp for flour as opposed to hemp for fiber and seed, which I would expect from countries such as Spain and France and China as well. I think of a lot of folks importing seeds to Florida from China, but there must be those European exporters that are servicing the northern latitudes. I'd also expect Canada to be on that list. It was, but not from the value of Spain, France, and China. Seed for consumption, I grouped the this is sort of oil and hulled seed. So both features there, $35 million. I found that really interesting, primarily from Canada, Lithuania, and China. So that's really where the export import market is right now for hemp in the seeds for consumption. So we see a lot of hemp products on the shelves, but not many of them yet from the United States. Also, the oil seed cake or other solid residues, that really adds up to that 4 million, primarily from Canada, with a notable contribution from Romania. Okay, so I have a few guests here from FDAX, and so I'd like to invite Matt Curran from FDAX Food Safety to assist me here. Dr. Curran, if you'd like to jump in at any time, I'm going to give about 3 slides, and then I'll ask for your insights, just to make sure I speak confidently to the facts. You folks have been good at that in previous meetings.
Sounds good, Zach.
Thank you. I hear you, so that works great. So first thing I wanted to mention, there was legislation this year on hemp. It wasn't targeting hemp production, so we haven't talked about it yet to this point. But the Senate Bill 1676 went through legislative session this year and makes a few critical redefinitions or kind of new definitions to the compliance around hemp food. So sort of leans in, absent of a US FDA definition of hemp related to food, to include that definition in the Florida laws, and clearly articulates that hemp extract is considered a food subject, assuming that it's being extracted for consumption. In addition, there is state hemp program compliance language that relates to legislative updates and definitions for hemp extract to meet requirements before being distributed and sold in the state. There's some testing requirements, some labeling requirements, and perhaps more specific to this new law, that it's only sold to businesses with specific permitting requirements. We're going to get some help today in the discussion to kind of distinguish what is hemp extract and related to food and permitting requirements. If a commodity, a hemp product is not for human consumption, what are some other requirements that might be required? This law attempts to include some additional operational details related to that. One that really kind of stuck with folks here was that any hemp products intended for human ingestion should not be sold to children. I think that was primarily for the floral extracts and kind of gets wrapped in here with some of the other products, smokable, snuff, ingestion, those sorts of things. Added some penalties, what do you know, and then also gave some power to FDACs for immediate stop sale order if they find out of compliance. So this is the website that folks would have to navigate to for the available information on food establishment permits, specifically with hemp. This website kind of redirects you to either the retail food establishment permits or the wholesale and manufactured food program. And so hopefully we'll get a little bit of clarification on that today. But as the hemp space has evolved over the last several years, it seems as though this food safety example is one that's also kind of simplified in terms of the requirements on hemp producers and product development, in that these are clearly articulated requirements for folks that are selling hemp products for consumption. So this is something that I pulled out of a frequently asked questions document that was updated earlier in the year. And this is just a table that says, what are you trying to do with hemp and who do you need to talk to in order to get your permits? I think that's a critical idea to share, that it's about who you need to talk to. I think most folks, if not all folks that I've talked to, have found FDACs and its divisions to be helpful. That is certainly their mission as the state regulator. And so if you are interested in product development, manufacturing, or sales for hemp, then I strongly encourage you to reach out to somebody. We have a couple folks on the call today, and you know, there's more of a conversation around making sure that you are compliant. So with that, Dr. Curran, I'll sort of pause. If you'd like me to show any of the slides again, that'll help with your comments. How'd I do? You know, do you have anything else to add?
Sure, thank you. And I think you did quite the yeoman's job there, Zach. Just to start with the slide that's up. My suggestion would be to delete the row that has inhalable products. With the changes in legislation, inhalable or ingestible products would all be considered hemp extract for human consumption. So all of that can be roped into that row. We no longer have a director of cannabis, so that email is no longer valid. So that was just one little update tip there. If you want to go backwards to the permitting side, we'll start there and just kind of briefly walk everyone through. Anytime you are out there in Florida selling hemp extract products or manufacturing hemp extract products that are intended for human consumption, and again, that would be for inhalation or ingestion, you will have to have a food permit. And so that website that Zach has up there will step you through the process. You can always call our offices. We've always got staff willing to help and assist. kind of explain things to you. A lot of different business models out there. We've got some very talented staff that can put you in the right direction, save you a lot of time searching things. So, but you do have to have a permit to operate. We prefer that you reach out ahead of time. It can not only save you time and money, but can save a lot of headaches down the road. If we find that you have implemented something that isn't in compliance with the food laws, we will have to ask you to correct that. So reaching out to us in advance oftentimes saves people a lot of money because they know now which direction to go, and they don't have to walk anything backwards or spend any extra money trying to correct things that could have been prevented. So we really do encourage you to reach out. We do have a plan review program. It is voluntary. It's a nominal cost. Typically, most baseline businesses is $55 to start the process or to go through the plan review. Complex businesses may cost a little bit more, but that can save you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes with what you're doing. Our staff does look at your plans and points out things in the food code that you may or may not be aware of, especially if you're new to the food industry. So we really do encourage you to take advantage of that. Again, voluntary, not required, but we're happy to offer that service to get you moving forward, and that is all available during that permitting process there. With that, Zach, if you want to go back one more slide to your first one, yes, there were several changes that the legislature made to Section 581-217. And one of the main things, as Zach pointed out, was it now incorporates hemp extract intended for human consumption, again, whether inhalation or ingestion, as a food commodity. So if you're manufacturing just hemp extract products intended for human consumption, you are a food manufacturer in the state of Florida. So the food code, if you're at retail, preventive controls, good manufacturing practices, all those things still apply. And it really is a sensible approach in that if you're putting this in your body, there's no reason why it shouldn't meet the same standards as any other food commodity that you purchase. So that's kind of the broad umbrella with that direct link there into the definition of food in Section 500.03. Some of the other things listing there and amending Section 581-217, a lot of that is that leveling, if you will, or consolidation or streamlining to make it the same as other food products. As everyone is well aware, FDA has not gotten into the game yet. So when it comes to a national level, there are 50 different states and potentially 50 different pockets of regulations going on out there, unlike the rest of the food world where FDA is involved. And so you have the state-to-state reciprocity of food manufactured in any of the other 49 states is held to the same standards as it is here in Florida. So food moves readily from one state to the other. It does every day in commerce. And so our attempt in Florida was to make that equivalency there. So that's the reason for a lot of those findings there. Must meet the requirements before being distributed and sold in the state. Got to have a food permit from the person that you're selling it to. If you're at the wholesale level, it's also got to in another state, that facility has to also meet their food safety laws or their health laws. They're the equivalent. So that way, food isn't coming into Florida that has the potential to be substandard. And so that's the rationale for those approaches there. We do have the ability to issue civil fines and penalties. So that's just codifying that and solidifying that, as well as stop sale orders. When we find adulterated food, no matter what kind, we do have the ability to issue a stop sale for that food. Or if we see equipment that is insanitary, not being used in the proper directions that may cause food to become adulterated, we can also issue a stop use order for that. So all of that is existing language. Some of the unique things that pertain to hemp, as you've already known in the packaging side of things in 581-217, have to deal with the QR code, the batch testing, and so forth. That's been there since its inception. One of the new things that was added in was a definition of attracted to children. And there was also an age requirement put in for hemp extract products intended for human consumption. It previously existed for the inhalation products, but now it exists in statute for the ingestible products as well. And along with that, again, was the definition for attracted to children. So it basically reads in three different parts there. Products can't be manufactured in the shape of humans, cartoons, or animals, and that's one component to it. It can't be manufactured in a form that bears any reasonable resemblance to an existing candy product that is familiar to the public as a widely distributed branded food product, such that a product could be mistaken for the branded product, especially by children. And the third component is that the legislature said it cannot contain any color additives. And so those are things all intended to make them not appealing to children. So that is one of the bigger points there. Another one is in that marketing, and it follows the same suit with regard to attractiveness to children. So those are some of the main high points with the changes to the legislation this year. But Zach, I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you joining and sharing those insights. I have a couple of questions, clarifications for you, just to confirm kind of my understanding and how we've been talking about things, and then I'll open it up to questions from the group. So if you have a question and you'd like to drop it in the chat, you can do so there, or you can choose the raise your hand feature, and I'll call on you. So just to sort of talk through a scenario to kind of ensure the understanding of the supply chain. So a hemp farmer has a cultivation license and a requirement to verify that the information provided for compliance, the test is completed. So farmer under compliance develops a crop, harvests the crop with compliance, and that crop is a fiber crop. It's not intended for human consumption. It does not exceed the 0.3% THC. That can be sold to an entity that doesn't have an additional permit to further process or sell that hemp fiber product.
Yeah, Zach. So once it's harvested and exits the field, it does move into a different realm there. And like you were touching on, depending on the use, would depend on what permit may be necessary. And again, we excluded it from food. We have to have a food permit if it does move into that consumption realm. If it does move into topicals and ointments and things like that, the Department of Business and Professional Regulation would need to be contacted for any topical uses there as they regulate cosmetics. Of course, it can't be used in the pharmaceutical industry. That would have to be into Department of Health's medical marijuana program. That's a whole different line of from seed to sale at that point. And just in general use, you would have to have any typical business permits. It's a bit out of my food area, so I can't say exclusively, but typically speaking, you would treat that much like any other commodity twine or whatever permits you would typically have to have. It's always good, of course, to keep that testing records available in case someone does question you regarding the possession of hemp, to make sure that it is under that 0.3% total delta 9 compliance rate. But outside of that, you move more into that traditional commodity approach, whatever licenses would apply at that point.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really interesting point and consideration here is that it seems as though come this year and the food law, along with the way that FDAX has been handling the industry up to this point, is with the intent of moving hemp into this traditional business, food business or otherwise, so that hemp is treated, in some ways for its special legal definition, but otherwise, past that, it is a food product, a topical product, or a non-food product. If you're a business operator in Florida, you ought to be operating under some structure, likely a regulatory structure, and to that point, you ought to be kind of in good services or good compliant for whichever business it is that you're operating. Okay, cool. I was just trying to summarize what I heard you saying in a different way. Uh-oh, it looks like okay. I don't see any questions in the chat. Matt, thank you very much. Is there anybody who with a moment might like to unmute themselves and ask a question of our FDAX representative? Okay, Matt, the only other kind of point of clarification I've heard from folks is thinking through this with regards to the cottage industry laws. My understanding is because it's still somewhat of a separate regulatory framework, the requirements to do so with compliance does not allow for the exceptions or alternate pathway to commerce through the cottage industry.
Correct. Yes, this would not be permissible through the cottage food laws.
Great. Well, again, special thanks to our guest, Dr. Matt Curran from FDAX Food Safety. Thank you very much for joining us today. If you have the opportunity to stick around through our show and tell, of course, you're welcome to. Otherwise, thank you very much for this valuable information.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oops, okay. With a roll, I went right through. Okay, so now my idea was that folks would be able to come along and have some things to share. I have some things to share, but I have spent so much time over the last several years thinking about hemp production. I've run across several different hemp products, but was really thinking about this as an opportunity to see what some other folks have to offer. If you do have something that you'd like to share, please type the type of production target that you'd like to show. If it's a fiber product or a seed product or a flower product, that's the order that I'll be going through. I like the idea of keeping them separate, just as a kind of an educational and organizational strategy. So I will start with our fiber products, and I think maybe I'll just stop my share for a moment here. There should be a way that I could spotlight my picture so that you can all see that. And I have some fiber products to show you folks. And I hope that it's not just me today, but I have enough to show for another 20 minutes or so. So it's not just nothing. So hemp for fiber, what I have to show is primarily the external fibers. Actually, you know what? I'll do a little demonstration. So this is a hemp stem that was harvested several years ago and then retted in the field. Retting is like a controlled rotting. There has to be some dryness. So if it's too much humidity, then the hemp is going to rot. If it is a nice mixture of temperature and dryness, then what you do is you get the stem bast fiber here to separate from the internal fibers. And so there are several process. The mechanical process is known as decortication. That's sort of a bar chopper or a rolling mill that crushes it up and separates the bast fibers from the hurd fibers. There's a couple other chemical ways potentially to do that as well. And so when I'm talking about external fibers, these ones here, internal fibers, this one here. I don't have anything to show about the internal fibers, but to note that the hurd is kind of what's been used for animal bedding or insulation. It is also the primary product for biochar, I believe. And so these fibers can be useful for several things. The fibers here are processed in several different ways. They have to get separated from the hurd with decortication. Then there is a whole set of other processes to degum and card and get to a the long textile fiber, long being 55 millimeters. And so we get to several different products here. Thank you to Hemp Traders for putting together these nice example bundles. And so this is an example of hemp cord cable woven fibers, which is particularly interesting to me because this is probably what folks would think of as a historical use for hemp. Hemp as a word historically meant rough fiber from a plant. And so there were several other plants, not just cannabis sativa that was woven into ropes, but certainly cannabis has its historical context there. The twine, I mentioned the twine that would be listed on those imports. Here's twine. I couldn't tell you what distinguishes twine from the fabrics. Well, I guess that makes sense, the fabrics and the twine. So where's the rope go in the imports? I don't have a good sense. This is probably this webbing is probably the strongest of hemp fibers. And then what I want to show here is this hat. This is a hemp hat listed from Nepal. You know, fashion is questionable, but it's all hemp, which is somewhat unusual. Rough. I think that's one of the things that I want to mention as we talk about the hemp fabrics, particularly rough fabrics. So when you get into things like hemp yarn, this hemp yarn here is a tri-blend. It's got the wool, the hemp, and the nylon. And so hemp as 100% hemp fabric is quite a rough fabric, and so it tends to be mixed into things. I also have some other twine here that I found. Anybody out there want to show a hemp fiber product? Okay. Jump in if you have something. Let's see, what's next? Hemp seed. Okay. I didn't pull out any hemp seeds to show today, though maybe that would have been a thoughtful thing to do. I generally I can show a picture. Let's see, is it in here? Here we are. So this is a picture of an enlarged hemp seed. Its shape is pretty unique. The veins is quite distinctive as well. And so those hemp seeds have a hull on them with some chlorophyll in them. And if you take that hull off and you sort of separate out that seed into a couple of pieces, then you get these hulled hemp seeds. And so that's something that I mentioned. This is as close to a raw food product as you might get from hemp. We didn't mention anything about microgreens. Folks have been talking about it. I haven't kind of thought much about where that goes, but of course that would be a direct sale as well. So you have your hemp seeds, and if you were to press them for oil, then you could get one of these two products. So these are both hemp oils. I wonder if the camera is good enough for you to see. But this one is a little bit lighter color than this one. Light, dark. And so the one that's darker still has the hull when it's being pressed. And so some of that chlorophyll from the hull ends up in this oil. Whereas if you've hulled it and you've taken that outer layer off, then you'll get a little bit clearer hemp oil.
Hey Zach, it's Jen. I just wanted to let you know that we can see all the pictures. Everything's coming across great, and we could see the difference in the two colors of those oils. So just wanted to
Okay,
head back and feedback. Heads up
thanks,
and
Jen.
feedback.
Yeah, thank you. Um, glad that's coming through. It's much different when I'm doing this at a table. So this one here is hemp seed oil that's been put into toothpaste. Okay, so to distinguish, right, there's oil that comes from hemp seed, and then there's oil that comes from hemp flower. So hemp seed oil is often described as such, and then hemp extract or broad spectrum oil, hemp flower oil would be to distinguish. So there are many oils in various different cosmetic products, toothpaste, lotions, things like that. And so that could come along with those. Let's see. The last thing I wanted to show in terms of the hemp seed products, this is just a bag of powder. Thank you to Bulk Hemp Warehouse for helping me source a lot of these examples. And so if you were to press the seed or extract the protein from the seed, then it comes out as a powder like this. There is this one, which is a whole hemp. You get more of a white powder if you use the whole hemp seed. When you press the hemp seed into oil, you get a cake or a residue at the end, which looks something like this. And so all manner of things, of course, with the oil, you have one half of the extraction, and then the waste has been used for various different things. Okay. That's what I have to show you about hemp seeds. Anybody else out there want to add or ask a question so far about any of these products that I've showed?
Zach, it's Jen again. Sorry, I guess I should turn on my video. Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to point out I work with a lot of folks who are working beyond the cottage food law, and also in Florida we have a cosmetic manufacturing exemption that allows people to sell up to $25,000 in limited lotions, soaps, and moisturizers. So one of the things as I work with folks who are making soaps they are very interested in the hemp oil as the fatty oil that they can use for the soap products. So I just wanted to share that as another use. You said the toothpaste, but I am seeing a lot of conversation around the hemp oil being used in making soap, and then also that you can buy a bulk compressed product of glycerin to make the soap. So as an ingredient, as people play with that, it's another thing to think about of ways to integrate that hemp product into your
Yeah.
soap or your cosmetics. So just wanted to share. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
doing
cool.
that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, with the opportunity also comes along with the note of caution. Topicals and the FDA, and it's non-consumption, and it might fit into all these things. But let's make sure that you're asking the right questions ahead of time. And thank you, Jen, for bringing that up. Actually, I want to show a picture. You remind me, I have actual things to show here. So these are two other products that I've come across. Actually, the left-hand picture is a hemp soap I found in a market in Israel. And then this here lotion. So there's certainly both folks that are selling out of kind of vendors and markets, and then commercial products as well. So yeah, great point about the lotions and the oils.
And I'm going to step in one
and
other
all
thing.
that.
I don't know if you guys can see this, but one of the oldest hemp products I've ever been able to purchase is through the Body Shop. And one of their most used products that I use is a hemp hand protector. So it's a very greasy, I don't know if you can see it with my camera, it's kind of hard.
I just gave you a spotlight.
Yes, but it's a wonderful, wonderful product, especially for dry feet and hands. It's my go-to product in the wintertime. So it's been on the market for a very, very long time. And a lot of people don't even know they sell it at the Body Shop.
Yeah. So what do you think? Is it that fatty acid ratio that helps the hemp oils be a little bit better than, so even, ingestion, it matches, but also the topicals, some benefits there maybe.
Yes,
Cool.
sir, you got it.
All right. I'll give myself back the spotlight. And okay. So the one that gets everybody going, the hemp products related to flour. I will continue to navigate this. There we are. So this is kind of the couple pictures that I've collected. Raw flour here, harvested and dried. And then bucked from the stem is a bucket here of flour. This product will be sold to direct market. It is a terpene rich, sort of a specialty variety. That's the sort of niche area that this farmer is targeting. Let's not jump over the FDA regulated hemp product here. The Epidiolex is the first of its kind, a suspension CBD to be used for childhood epilepsy. So this is one of those things that has made hemp and hemp products a very much nuanced situation. The FDA has ruled specifically on this product, but it seems as though not much else. And so there is a viable medical use for hemp through this identified through this procedure. And then there's a whole bunch of other topicals with cannabinoids in them, right? So let's distinguish from the hemp seed topical that we were talking about, that oil, whereas the hemp topicals here from the CBD perspective tend to have a flower extract or an isolate put in them. So I have some of those to show as well, just so that it's not like, hey, Zach's talking about all these things, but he's got not enough experience, just to show a couple jars here of some of the flour that we've produced out of the research station. I wasn't able to jar the fiber and the seed. That's just copious amounts that we have saved for our research trials. But the flour is different from the seeds, just to note the raw product. And then what else do I have here? A couple partners and sponsors just to show that they can come in both the topical. This is for pets. You can also get the ingestion. I've seen it in gummies and chocolates and all sorts of things. Critically important to distinguish hemp seed oil from hemp flower extract, and really those laws and regulatory structure comes into play for that. Has anybody brought any products to show and tell today? Okay. Well, that is my show and tell. Many of you have certainly reached out to me with interesting products. There's like hemp milk, which seems to be a similar press and process as almond milk. There have certainly been various different forms of whole hemp seeds. You can find those pretty regularly in your grocery store. Let's see, what else? Some high-tech things coming along that folks are interested in. I mentioned the biochar. Those hemp fibers can also be broken into various different nanoparticles. Graphene is carbon sheets, things like that can be done. There was a time in a popular science magazine back in the early 1900s that sort of describes 20,000 uses of hemp. And they go through all of these different products. Many of them have remained similar. Few of them have found a strong market out of Florida grown products, out of products hemp grown in the United States. And so that was part of the reason why I wanted to add in that context for the imports today, because there certainly are a lot of hemp products that are coming into the States. I believe that there is an opportunity for the market to develop. What we're waiting for as hemp farmers, or at least the university in support of hemp farmers, is a market that's regular and viable. And so part of that was purpose of my discussion today, just to go overview all the products that you could choose. And most folks are doing so indoors, flower production, and then extracting for the tinctures, the isolate for CBD, or the broad spectrum. So that's kind of my overview of products. I'm going to take a few deep breaths, give anybody a chance to add a question in the chat or unmute themselves to share. Jen.
Me again. Question for you. Have you received any inquiries from any beekeepers who are looking to help provide pollination services, or just by proximity wanting to put their hives anywhere near our research locations?
That is a very thoughtful question, but not one that I've experienced yet. I have seen bees around hemp grows. That observation is pretty consistent nationally. However, we also know that hemp is wind pollinated. So the question of whether or not bees are assisting in the pollination or just enjoying the just loads of dusty pollen clouds. Interesting point. So what I hear you saying is somewhere you've heard or seen of a like hemp flavored honey product that might be an alternate way for folks to get involved here.
Yes, I teach at Bee College twice a year, so another shout out to anyone who's learning or interested to learn more about bees. But a lot of our hobbyists and those who are looking to scale up are on the cottage food side in regards to honey, are looking to either supplement or add or infuse their honey with some kind of CBD or THC product. I always refer to them that falls into a different, matter as far as
Big
what
deal.
Matthew was talking about with FDAC. So that's a different purview there. But they are very interested in the potential of either looking at something that you would ingest as far as a honey product combined with those different materials as you've highlighted, but then also from the applicable side of your lotions, your lip products, lip balms, things of that nature that could integrate some of these other hemp oils, whether they be CBD or THC. So again, the legality is different, but there's lots of interest around beekeepers and hemp related products, whether you ingest it or it just is applied topically. So I might be hitting you up later to chat about that a little bit more in depth.
Sure. I'm just like doing all the thought experiments. Like, could a bee take cannabinoids from a hemp plant that would then end up in its honey? It wouldn't come from the pollen, right? It would come from them like scraping their legs across the leaf or the flower. Would a bee go to an pollen-free female cloned hemp planting differently than they would go to pollen crazed seed production? There's a whole bunch of extra questions there. So thank you. That's fun. Question from Mariah. Additional permits needed for research at the university level. I don't necessarily think of it as additional permits in a way, but it is a separate permitting pathway. Regulatory framework for the university research came from a 2014 a law nationally and a 2017 law at the state level, which is different from the 2019 and 2020 laws that came from that do the commercial permitting for farm production. So Mariah, if you would like, I'm gonna just about to flash up my contact information. You're welcome to reach out about some of those nuanced permitting ideas. Okay, anybody else for a question? We have a couple minutes for the hour anyways. Okay, well, I am then going to close this meeting to say thank you to everybody for joining and asking some thoughtful questions along the way. Thank you very much. And oh, I delayed long enough. Did I hear you say bees are not needed for pollination of hemp? That is correct. Hemp is a wind pollinated plant. It is also primarily dioecious, which means that there are female plants and male plants in the field for the fiber and the seed type plants. So the pollen is very small. There is records of pollen, cannabis pollen, having gone across the Mediterranean from Morocco to Spain. So very much small, very much mobile and wind driven. Bees have appeared in hemp plants, hemp fields, but not needed or beneficial to the pollination. That is in contrast to the flower plants, which are female clones. So there are explicitly no males in those fields because we want the flowers to develop without pollination. So there's probably a different attraction for bees in both of those fields. Okay, everyone, I'll stick around just for a minute if anyone wants to linger. Otherwise, thank you very much one last time and have a good day.